Melgers.
Live from SmackDown, here comes the propane. It's the SOGOpod. I tell you what.
I'm Frank.
And I'm Hank Hill. I sell propane and propane accessories. And I'm Kinder. Welcome to the SOGOpod, everybody.
You're not going to be able to keep that up the entire podcast.
No, there's no way. It's one of those strenuous voices, you know?
Yeah. Imagine trying to say anything in that voice that isn't like lines from the show.
Yeah.
I need a tap and die and a...
I need a tap and die and some WD-40. I need a hammer. Do you know what a hammer is? Boss ass bits. That was too much Southern.
A little bit too much.
Today on the SOGOpod. Today on the SOGOpod, we're just doing a bunch of fucking voices. We have a lot of shit to talk about because we went on a temporary hiatus because we're selling my fucking house and shit. Yeah. That's been an ordeal.
Yeah. And I just don't care.
Yeah, it's just a thing. We ain't making no money. Send us money, please. We need it.
Please. There's ways to do it. Just ask us. Hey, how can we give you money? We'll find out.
You can like send it in the mail to my address at
P.O. Box 97418
Sesame Street, Lane, Way, Crescent.
Man, this fucking burrito is fucking me up. My insides, they're all torn up.
From the shore up?
From the showing up. Yeah. Torn up from the horn up. Horn being my penis.
Can I blow it?
If you want. I think we already did.
Too late. Got that out of the way for the show. So we don't have any unbiblical urges.
Right. I'm going to know you biblically. All right.
So we got a lot to talk about.
Let's, I guess we should start off with let's not start with a showstopper, you know, so let's start off with the space stuff. PlayStation
With a show starter.
Yeah. We're starting with a show starter instead. The PlayStation VR was released. Obviously, neither of us own a PlayStation 4. So, you know, that came out, though. So, I don't know, it seems like people are enjoying it.
I mean, it hasn't really made waves or anything.
It slotted itself exactly where I thought it would. Yeah. It doesn't help that I feel like they were positioning it late in the year because I guess there was this expectation that Vive and Rift would be these huge sellers and they would be leading this tidal wave and PlayStation VR would get to ride that wave.
Yeah.
But then by the time E3 rolled around, everybody was like, these things were out and people were like, they're not as good as I thought they were going to be.
They're plenty good, but there's a lot of unforeseen cons.
Yeah, there's a lot of things people didn't realize, and the price, and then the games aren't coming the way people thought they would. Whole bunch of things, and so
I think that's the big thing.
And then when they started,
games.
And they started pulling back on talking about the PlayStation VR as much. So I think that they had the expectation that they were going to get to ride this wave, but instead they had to like almost create another wave, which they didn't do.
Like
I guess that wasn't part of their PR strategy.
They got close with Resident Evil 7. Great trailer. But I don't know. Until we see some actual shit going down with it, you know, like get fucking Resident Evil 7 and some other killer
I really
app.
don't know like if there's anything that's on the PlayStation VR. Well, one, there's nothing on the PlayStation VR that wouldn't be possible on the Rift or the Vive.
Yeah.
Like all the controller methods, especially now that the touches are out, because that's another thing that happened now because touches came out.
Yeah.
So now that the touches are out, the controller across the board, everybody's got a similar controller method that wouldn't be too difficult for developers to create, you know, games that could work on any of those platforms. You know, and the PlayStation VR is not. Most VR games in general aren't really pushing horsepower. It's everything else that goes into displaying VR that pushes the horsepower. So, you know, they're not really pushing horsepower, so you know they could probably still make it on the PlayStation 4 and make it on the PC and everything like that.
I'm gonna like supercut every time you say pushing horsepower.
Pushing horsepower. So they're
pushing horsepower.
They're pushing horsepower, but they're not. Yeah, they're good games, and you're not expecting like the most graphically intense things out there. You know, you're not expecting.
Yeah, they're not pushing
They're not pushing horsepower, right? You're fucking me up. I'm trying to make a point here. But anyway, yeah.
You're trying to push horsepower?
I'm trying to push horsepower. Pushing it hard. Pedal to the metal.
Push it
real good. Push that horsepower. Pushing horsepower. PlayStation VR. Not pushing horsepower. Oculus Rift, not pushing horsepower.
There's a disturbing lack of horsepower pushing.
I'm noticing that there's not much. Fuck, let's start this podcast over. Fuck
it. I'm keeping it.
Anyway, besides the fact that they're not pushing horsepower,
this podcast is pushing horsepower right now.
Pushing fucking horse
pushing
shit.
Daisies is what it's doing.
Pushing horse shit.
We're just a cast. A couple of guys. We don't do shit. We're just pushing shit down your ears. Horsepower. What? Horse.
Whose horse?
Whose? That's my horse. Ed boy.
Whose?
I promise we didn't smoke like fucking crystal meth before we started the show. Anyway,
but the PlayStation VR is not that great. It's not selling. I mean, I'm assuming it's selling, but they're not sold out on Amazon. There are units available at retailers like Best Buy, and I assume I haven't actually looked at Walmart if Walmart is selling them, but I've heard
they had it at GameStop.
Word on the street that there are units available that are out there. So either this is very rare for a video game company to overestimate their demand and produce more than what they think they're going to sell. Usually they produce less and create artificial, supply strains to get people excited. Oh, we sold out on the first day,
Yeah. Well, there's a few factors I think that went into that. Probably the biggest factor is Sony's not pushing it. They're not pushing. Yeah. They're not pushing horsepower.
They're not pushing horsepower. They pulled back on it. That's the thing that was weird. Like that they had a sizzle reel at E3.
Yeah.
But they didn't even show up to Gamescom, did they? Or they did show up to Gamescom, but they didn't show anything important.
Yeah.
Then they had PAX, which didn't do anything. They weren't out there waving the flag of PlayStation VR, this next major addition to their product. And even when they did granted it was for the PlayStation, it was a PlayStation meeting.
Yeah.
For the PlayStation Pro and everything like that, they still didn't really mention it on that. And that really was supposed to be one of the main purposes of this thing, is like, here's a more powerful system to push horsepower for your headset.
Come to think of it, I don't even think I've read, like, normally I'm on top of my hardware reviews, especially like big things like that. I haven't even read one.
I mean, most everybody says that's fine. Like, that's the thing. Like, it's okay. Like, it gets the job done. And it's slotted exactly where you would expect it to, because, your Vives and your Rifts are your high end, nearly luxury, but not, but like, they're your high-end devices, and then your VR, your PlayStation VR kind of slots in your consumer level stuff, and then you have your Samsung Gear VRs, and then Google announced their little weird, like, all-in-one headset thing. Like, you don't slot a phone into it. It just, like...
Google's doing something. Like, they got a new phone that looks pretty mediocre.
Yeah,
and
it looks like a phone,
a weird headset. I don't know what they're doing right now. I mean,
they're trying to be Apple, and that's fine. I mean, but Apple can barely be Apple right now, Apple's been stuck in, like, doing what everybody else is doing and being, like, 2 steps behind when they used to actually innovate.
Yeah.
Whether you wanted them to or not.
People love it when we remove shit. We took away one mouse button, they fucking loved it.
Yeah.
We took away the fucking USB ports, they loved it. What else can we take away? I don't know. I don't really listen to music very much. You're fucking genius. Raise.
We'll create a problem and then solve it. Like, they created the problem not having a headphone jack.
With a nominal fee.
And they solved it for a nominal fee of like $200 for a pair of Bluetooth headphones. Ha! Like iPhone headphones aren't even that comfortable or great, and then you're like, oh, but we've made them with no wires. Oh yeah, so the biggest problem they have, which is they fall out of your ears all the time. Oh yeah, now we just made it where they fall in the toilet.
And they didn't remove the dumbass stem though.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
The fucking why,
man?
Stem
that hangs all the way down. It's where the microphone is. But,
I don't know what they're doing.
I like my iPhone, but that's the thing though. They did that. I bet give it 2 years. Samsung phones don't have headphone jacks.
I swear to God.
Give it 2 years. Samsung phones don't have headphone jacks.
I don't know though. It's so unpopular. Even Samsung might see the writing on that wall.
Yeah, I think maybe even Apple's very rarely goes back on their decisions.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's here to, I guess,
maybe
not really here to stay. You can't really say something leaving is here to stay.
Yeah,
it's gone forever.
The reasoning I saw was like for the sake of making a phone thinner,
but it's not thinner. It's the same thickness as the one I have.
Why, I don't understand why people like. My fucking Samsung is way too thin for my taste. I can't have it without a case.
Yeah. Like, that's ridiculous.
Yeah. Fuck that. I need a case. Yeah. I need some fucking bulk.
I put this shit in a case. And it's slippery as fuck, too. They're whatever material or paint they use is slippery as fuck. So,
like, were you remember like the G1s and shit?
Yeah.
That fucking awesome phone? It was the perfect
the
fucking width.
rubberized, like, back to it and everything.
Yeah, it was the perfect fucking width. And then I got the My Touch, which was like their touchscreen thing right after that little roller trackball, and it was too thin. That was the barrier.
Well, the one I had was one of those LGs, and it had a fucking like sort of the actual back of the case, which you could take off and replace your battery. Samsung.
Yeah. Well, they went back to that with the 7, but then they started exploding.
Right. Yeah. But you could take the case, you could take the back off, and you. Oh,
not the batteries. They went back SD cards. Hopefully, this time they'll go back to the batteries. That's what they get.
Yeah, that's what you get for making these decisions. Your batteries blow up. But so you can put your SD card in. You can do all this other crap. You could take the back off, but the back itself had that rubberized sort of texture to it, so it stuck to your hand, and it had a thickness to it. It was about as thick as this with my case on it, but I had to put a case on it to get it this thick,
I mean, I barely remember using cases for any of my... When you used a case with older phones, it was a novelty.
Yeah, you had a case with a design on it because it was like, oh, look, it's
like, now you got fucking OtterBox's big black brick of shit.
And you need it because you dropped this phone and it's just going to shatter in a million pieces.
I had my fucking Samsung for 3 goddamn days, and I was delicate as fuck with it, waiting on my case to come in the mail. And the day it was supposed to arrive, my alarm goes off, and I reach over and knock it off my nightstand. My nightstand is like 2.5 feet off the ground.
Yeah.
And I knock it off my nightstand, and it just kind of bumps, not metal, but wood on the side of my bed with the back of it.
Yeah. And
it fucking shatters the back of the thing. I'm like, fuck, it's still shattered. I was like, why, though?
Yeah. Well,
first of all, why the fuck
why is there glass
on
the back of
and Samsung second? Samsung, you're dumber for fucking putting glass on the back
still
after seeing all
Apple
the fucking
hasn't
Apple.
had glass on the back since the 4. Yeah.
Like, I don't know if the
That's
7
a lot
had
of
it on
phones
there.
between then. The 7 doesn't have. 7's a solid piece of aluminum that they carved out with microscopic massaging beads of sand.
Like, as many iPhones as you saw with a busted ass back.
Right, yeah. I mean, I'm sure that there are people who work in the Samsung offices, or at least somewhere in Korea, who have iPhones, and you could see the shattered all around, like 360-degree shattering, only available.
I don't fucking understand.
But now they expect you to fucking put these things into like a piece of cardboard and strap it to your face without it falling out and shattering on the ground. Play scary games and shit like that where you jerk around.
Not to mention, fucking cases make everything incompatible, so there's no docks or anything anymore.
Right, yeah, so let me take this case off, this process, especially if you're talking about an OtterBox, because usually like, okay, there's the rubberized outside I got to take off, then there's 2 halves, but they're clipped ends, I got to pry those off.
Just give me raised bezels and a little more thickness and we're good.
No. They're going to take away your headphone jack.
Just take my headphone jack. Just fuck my shit up, fam.
It's courageous.
You're the one that...
we'll get to that. Yeah, we'll get to that.
Oh, shots fired. We'll get to that in a minute.
But PlayStation VR came out.
Got a sip of this?
Yeah, go.
I'm gonna just give me a little sippy. Just here,
A
give
bit
me
of Monster.
just
It's
give me-
my first time
just-
drinking
Just
a
give me the
regular-
tip. Give me the tip.
Doing bong hits over there.
That's good semen.
I haven't had a regular ass Monster in a long time.
Speaking of which,
I would like a regular ass Monster.
I'll tell you about this girl I met the other day at the bar. She's a regular ass monster.
So we
I'll
do
tell you
have the switching gears VR
I
into
was waiting for it.
we're into. I guess we'll do all the Nintendo stuff in one section. So we're gonna go right to. There was an announcement on Thursday, but not the announcement you're thinking about. Another announcement that's been teased all week. Rockstar started by changing their social media profile picture to a red logo, and then the next day they tweeted out a picture of 7 cowboy-esque figures walking away from a sunset or towards a sundown. I couldn't tell. So they're just, and then so everybody's like, obviously Red Dead 2, yay, but everybody was like, it's gonna be called like Red Dead Rebellion or Red Dead Retribution or something. No, it's Red Dead Redemption 2.
Yeah. Surprise, they bought the Sunset Riders license.
Yeah. Should they might. Ooh, that's a Konami game, right?
Is it
Konami
Konami?
joint? I think that's a Konami joint.
I have no idea.
So yeah, they announced Red Dead Redemption 2. They said, hey, there's a trailer coming Thursday, 11 p.m. Or 11 a.m. rather.
Be there.
Be there or be squared. Okay. So everybody's expecting like this 30-minute long like Twitch stream where they talk all about the game and stuff. Nope. Twitch channel goes live. It's 1 minute. It's done.
Fucking one and done.
And it's a pretty trailer. I'll admit it's pretty.
It was
but
a regular
you can,
pump and dump, is what that
but
was.
you cannot grasp nothing from that trailer about what that game is,
And
what
you
it's
know what?
about, and
You know what? That's fucking good.
it is good.
That's good
It
marketing.
is good because if you played Red Dead Redemption, you probably can expect what you're getting out of Red Dead 2.
Yeah.
It's more cowboys, more horses.
That's the good way to build a hype train without building a fucking hype train.
Yeah,
Like Breath of Wild, I am so scared that's gonna have because there's
what
so
they've
much
shown
shit.
and everything they talked about. It's like, that's great. It's very similar to No Man's Sky. We go back and talk about that. Like,
Yeah.
everything you're showing is awesome, but then when you tell me you want to stretch this out in 40 hours, then we're getting kind of questioning about it. They didn't really do much with GTA 5. They showed a trailer or two about the game itself. They showed like one just like, hey, here's GTA 5. Look how pretty it is. Then they had one that was more focused on the story stuff, and then they had another that was, hey, GTA Online. It's gonna be this cool thing. Everybody's gonna hang out, and that's like fucking doing gangbusters for them.
Yeah.
So they have a method. Rockstar, they have a method about what they do with their games, because they don't really go to E3. They don't do these long sit down interviews with these 20-minute videos with like Game Informer or other like YouTube channels or like GameSpot. Like, hey, here's every detail about our game. They just make a game and then they put it out, and everybody loses their shit over it
Because they're fucking rock stars.
because they're Rockstar, and they literally are rock stars, and they can do what they want. So
See, the weird thing about Rockstar is I'm one of the very few that I don't really care for Rockstar games. I respect them. Mm. I don't really care for. I've never been big ever really on Grand Theft Auto. I played Vice City, and it was pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, what they do well, and
I mean, and they set
do
the
them
standard
right.
for open world games,
Yeah.
and none of the games you have nowadays would be what they are, better or worse, if it wasn't for Grand Theft Auto and Rockstar's influence. And that's the thing though. Like, I remember when Grand Theft Auto first came out, and there were a lot of imitators of Grand Theft Auto. Like other open world crime games. Like True Crime and even the first Saints Row, like stuff like that. And everyone's just like, oh, really? These games suck, or they're not as good as Grand Theft Auto. You'll never be as good as Grand Theft Auto. And everybody was just like, what if somebody just took the game I like and made it open world? And that's literally every game now.
Yeah.
Like, every Assassin's Creed game is open world. Every, like, fucking, what was the last game that came out that was, like, you have Shadow of Mordor that was open world, And, like, they're these big-ass open world games. Arkham Asylum, again, like, that's a game, like, somebody would look at something like Arkham Asylum,
Arkham City.
They would look at something like Arkham Asylum and they'd say, "Oh, this would be great if I could fly around all of Gotham City."
Yeah.
All right, now you can. Like, but it doesn't. They're taking elements of it and they're throwing it in there, but it's just like at the same time, it's like that's what people wanted for so long. And then Rockstar's still like, well, we're just going to keep making those games because
we know
it was
what we're
doing
doing.
pretty good.
This game was built from the ground up to be open world. The games that you're bringing to this open world were not originally built for it. You're not rethinking it,
right? Yeah.
And I think one of the biggest problems with games going open world is take like Halo 2, like that's the first one that comes to mind.
Yeah.
So you take Halo 2 and your campaign, it's linear as fuck. You go through an area.
It's all about these
open
set
levels.
pieces. Like the first level is like you're driving through the fucking beach and a warthog and doing all this shit. And then then the level right after that's like you're gonna fucking go through this city and there's a big ass scarab walking around. You're constantly running into it, and you finally get to jump on it and start blowing people away.
Yeah, and when you're developing a game, it's a lot easier to make moments out of when you can predict where the player is going to be, a general area, and you have a little bit of that linearity. Then you can predict where they're going to be, and you can make these fucking huge ass moments.
Yeah,
and with open world, you just kind of got to work around where they're going to be coming from X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
Where the fuck are they coming from?
Or you like have to isolate them off into their own little box where you can show them that set piece. Like for Grand Theft Auto 5, for instance, does start off in a set piece. Like it starts off where you are back in like the 80s and you're robbing like this fucking bank in the middle of like Fargo or some shit, like this snowy town in the Midwest, and it's not anywhere, like that's not part of the game, like that's not a little location of the map of San Andreas or Los Santos. It's just that that's all it is.
And the way that it lay out their missions, it's made so that you have a constrained area and you have these like you said set pieces that are made for these missions, and you have moments like that are built for that particular instance where like Skyrim or whatever, you just kind of have to work around the engine. If you're standing in the wrong
spot, you might miss the dragon flying, like in the first, like right after you walk out of Whiterun, they're like, "There's a dragon." If you're not paying attention, that dragon you just miss like everything.
You just missed a moment.
Like, he
Same
just
with like Fallout.
ate like 12 people, and you just missed it. Like if you're looking the wrong way at the beginning of Fallout 4. And the Deathclaw pops up out of the sewers, and you didn't see it. Like, I didn't see that. I missed it. I was looking at something else. I was killing some fucking raiders, and fucking Deathclaw pops up. Oh,
yeah. And these are games that are made to be built for open world. Yeah. Imagine how bad the developers
these are Bethesda games.
Yeah. Imagine how bad it is for developers that have never done an open world or bringing a linear world to an open world.
They're trying to stretch out their basic concepts of game, and they always do it by just padding it with activities like, hey, go to these various icons because God, I don't know what to do. So GTA tries its best to create like a facsimile of a living world so that you can be like, oh yeah, this is a real city with real I can just go fucking play golf or tennis or whatever, and same when I played Red Dead, it was the same thing there. You could do dumb shit, but they weren't padding the environment with random activities like, hey, just go stop over here. And if they did, they don't draw your attention to them. It's like you ride by something and it pings your map. It's like, oh yeah, there's something over here. Yeah. Because they're not trying to make you go and do a collectathon like everybody else does.
And it's just easy for me to imagine it this way. Imagine trying to do Halo 2's story in a big-ass Forge map. Yeah. Like, how would you go about that? You can't. Yeah. You can't do it the same way.
Imagine if they made a Halo game and it was just based on a Halo. Yeah. Like, you get the entire Halo to play on. Okay. Like, like this is what am I supposed to do? Like, run around in circles.
Yeah. And really the only way you could actually feasibly do that would be to make separate worlds but have free travel from one to the other, and you have to go through X world to get this.
Like a sort of like I don't know, like Dishonored did it. Like these maps are big open maps, but it's not the entire world. Yeah, like you are just in a small little bit of it, and then you move to the next level, which is the next little bit, but it's still a big open map. but you're still isolated to that little area.
I think missions of that sort are going to make a comeback before too long.
I think like the concepts of open world games are good. Like the concepts that are there, like, hey, you have the freedom to approach any task or mission in any way you want, which is great because that's what video games are about. They're about freedom and choice and all these other things and how you approach them. But taking those things and putting them into like, but then saying like, yeah, but you have the freedom to approach it, but here's like this entire map.
Yeah.
It's like, no, just give me like a little bit and focus your design around that little environment and plot out those ways that I could do it. But also give me like weird, like again, Dishonored, like they give you all these powers. You can do whatever the fuck you want with, and people have done some crazy shit. You watch those videos of those people fucking around with their Dishonored powers and murdering like a billion guys, or just sneaking through an entire level and never being seen. You know, at like that's the kind of things I like. I don't like with like Arkham Asylum or whatever. It's like, hey, you're gonna jump down, you're gonna punch these guys.
Yeah,
like there's no other option. You know.
And I'm glad you brought Dishonored up because they did a lot right. They had some limitations. So it does feel a little bit smaller now than it did when it came out.
Yeah. And
but those levels
it kind of feel old when it came out anyway. Like it didn't feel
because
I think everybody was going so open world and everything that it automatically felt a little old because it was more of a linear style game.
Yeah. And when you have that many different worlds, I mean, they are big levels.
Yeah.
You know, that's a lot of space in your disc, you know, and it's a lot of assets to render and all.
One game we totally didn't mention in this entire thing was like Melgers Solid 5.
Yeah.
Like a game where somebody like took these basic concepts and said, let's just make it an open world game. It's like, they did a good job with it, but it was still like, there's your problem. Like, theoretically, you can approach these things differently, but you're not going to.
Yeah.
You're going to stand at about, 30 yards from the base and pop off dudes from a distance. Then you're going to go in and clean up whatever's left up, and you're going to Fulton who you need to Fulton.
Yeah.
And you're not going to really shoot a gun, because why would you do that? You're playing a Metal Gear Solid game, so you're going to trank everybody, And
it's a lot to take in. I mean, you can do a lot of shit, a whole lot of shit. And I think that variety is the big thing that kept Metal Gear Solid 5 fun, is because there is so much to do the first time. Well, at least they gave you a
variety of missions to do where you don't want to go into this mission with a trank because we're asking you to blow up a bunch of trucks.
Yeah.
Or we're asking you to, like, destroy things. So you might want to bring a rocket launcher. Like, they force you to do those things outside of your norm, which is good. Because I also had the missions just like, oh, yeah, a bunch of fucking skulls are going to show up, and that's really all this mission is. But you're going to fight, like, 12 skulls.
Yeah.
Okay.
But then you got to look, too. The storytelling was very weak in 5 compared to all the rest of Metal Gear Solids because of that open world, and the most storytelling-based games possibly ever, other than like Final Fantasy. You had a weak story in the last installment. I mean, that's kind of fishy, but you got to understand that's what open world does. It hinders your storytelling capability big time.
Yeah, and it had like one of the biggest things about it was like, hey, you know that thing you like about Metal Gear Solid games? The wacky boss fights.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like you took all of Metal Gear Solid out of Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah.
And
I really wish like I could ask Hideo Kojima, like, is this actually the game you wanted to make, or is this a compromised version of of your vision? Like, so that way could give me a real insight into like who Hideo Kojima really is.
Yeah.
Because if this is the game he wanted to make and it came out not exactly, maybe it might be, some things might not be what he wanted, like maybe he didn't get to finish it the way he wanted, but overall this is what he wanted, then I'm going to be very disappointed in Hideo Kojima as a man. But if it's like, no, it's all totally compromised, I wanted all these other things, but they wouldn't give us the money or the time or whatever, and it's like, okay, good.
Yeah, fuck Konami, I can deal with that.
Yeah, but then if you're telling me like, oh no, you made the game you wanted to make, and it was actually just like this weird, no real story, but cool concepts, but I don't come to Kojima games for their fun gameplay. The gameplay it's a shocker when the gameplay is fun. I just like the crazy weird shit, I don't talk about all those fun moments I had playing Metal Gear Solid 3. We talk about
not even that. Like, if you look at the level design of every other Metal Gear, like Metal Gear 1 and 2 and 3, the levels were designed around a few very, very, very well executed
And Shadow
concepts.
Moses is an open world.
Yeah.
But it's each box is individually designed.
It's its own sphere of
to
shit.
link together. Yeah.
The same thing with 2 and the same thing with 3.
And they're environments that you know and memorize, you know? Like you learn how to get through them the most efficient way. Like where's the best sneaking places, the routes the guards are going to walk, all those things you learn. And the way they're set up, it's almost a photographic memory. Like you know exactly what's going to happen when you walk into this room.
Yeah.
Same with Metal Gear Solid 2, same with 3. Like you said, like you know what to expect. Metal Gear Solid 5 tries to throw that on its head and 4 did the same thing. Like 4 was like, you're just going to walk. You know? And maybe you'll see a dude. There weren't really environments, you know? It was always like it was like a tunnel. Every level in 4 was like a tunnel. Yeah. You just keep walking forward,
and
keep moving
that's another
forward.
thing. Whenever you get these open world games, it's counterintuitive as fuck because you get tunnel vision. You head straight for an objective. Yeah. Even if it's over a goddamn mountain like you do in Fallout. Right, you're going over that goddamn mountain. Right. Fuck going around some bitch.
Yeah. What? There's a bunch of radiation here. Yeah. Fuck it. Still going.
Just power through, pop health items. Yeah. And like in Metal Gear, you had to go through
At least
B-Shell.
New Vegas punished you for going straight to Vegas. It was like, oh, you got to walk through Deathclaw Valley. What's Deathclaw Valley? Well, let me tell you, it's full of Deathclaws.
And then that was something they executed well to keep that tunnel vision out.
Right, yeah.
But it happens in almost every tunnel, in every...
Yeah, it's like you would think, it is counterintuitive. Like, it's this big open world, but guess what? You're going to fucking go point A to point B no matter what. Yeah. If you're playing Grand Theft Auto... You're fucking staring at that mini-map 90% of the time, looking at that mini-map about where to go.
And that's another thing, too. There's buildings, there's obstacles, there is no straight line. So a lot of time you have to go around shit just to get to your point. Right. And that forces you to encounter some odd situations.
But, like, if I was living in a city, I would learn the streets and the best, fastest ways to get there. But I don't have to because I have this map that literally draws the line for me.
And even then, you still learn the streets and the buildings and the markers and everything. There's something to learn about the landscape, whereas, like, Skyrim... Metal Gear, everywhere you learn, there's this tree and mountain. Yeah. There's this big, vast world with the similar textured trees and stones. And like, I'm in the more cold place now. Yeah. I'm in the more warm place now, So where like Grand Theft Auto, you have a shit ton of stuff in between you and your objective. And even though the world's not quite as big as like, say, Skyrim or whatever, there's just a lot packed with shit to encounter. In Skyrim... It's just a bunch of fucking land. That's just the only thing this is doing for you is making your walk longer.
Yeah. And then, there's a cabin over there. I wonder what's in there.
Yeah. Like every now and then you happen upon something. Whereas in Grand Theft Auto,
at least
it's
in
like,
Skyrim, I felt like they put some sort of story element in every location you went to. Fallout 4, the biggest problem I have is that you will come across buildings that there's nothing inside of them. There's no purpose for this building to be here other than scenery, you know?
And that's them falling into that classic problem with open world games
because they didn't want to design a thing. They didn't put it there for a purpose. They designed the world and the idea and the concept, and then they said, "Oh, let's put shit in it."
Yeah, it's almost like they had just wanted bragging rights to say this world is X big.
Yeah, okay. Which even Fallout 4 is not even as big as like the other Fallout games. It's smaller, but you would think. Like Vegas, at least New Vegas, for all the shit people give it for being, a buggier game, is at least like everything you run into, it's so fucking packed. Like your map, you're fucking dinging like every few feet because there's always some sort of marker or something to discover. And there's always something interesting there. Like, hey, this is a Mirelurk cavern. You're going to go in there, there's going to be Mirelurks in there, you know? You go into this random hole, guess what? There's a guy who's been worshiping Nuka-Cola in there. Fuck it, yeah, let's do that. And then they added in all those weird, like, random encounters, too. Like, where it's like you're walking and all of a sudden there's a dude who's, like, king of the rad roaches, and that's what he does. Like, he just sits in the he's king of the rad roaches.
I love that.
Yeah, he's just a random dude you run into, It's sort of like, at least Morrowind had the similar thing where it's just like, yeah, you're gonna walk out of if you walk out of the town this way, the dude's gonna fall out of the sky, and that's just what's gonna happen,
And I mean, Morrowind was still brand new coat of paint at the time too, and the limitations of the system, made it look not great, but it still was small enough to be packed with shit. Yeah, and the open areas were out of character.
They're even like crazier than the other games too, like Morrowind, because you're talking about a game where like even the random thugs in the mines and shit that you kill have names.
And most of them have context that they speak to if they talk to you. And like, there was just always something. There was never really much of the same. And the open areas that were there were A, dangerous as fuck.
Yeah.
And B, out of the ordinary. Like 90% of the game, there's shit in between you and your objective. Every road that you can feasibly travel in Morrowind, there's usually something on it, some encounter, something to do.
Mm.
And the only open areas are infested with enemies, or just like meant to be a place between you and this objective, where there's this one place to go through that you wouldn't normally do.
Taking this back to what we're saying, I mean, Bethesda are masters of open world games, but they still falter at it. And Rockstar, they're masters of open world games, but again, they create the games, and the people, and they all had the same problem. They all had the same problem because the guys who created them still haven't been able to solve those problems. You know, like you play GTA 5, and there's still problems with it because it is an open world game. Yeah, and that's the same thing with Red Dead 2. I'm just sitting here like, it's not really offering me anything new. Yeah, because there's 1.5 billion open world games out there that it's just like, what are you? Because nobody else is bringing anything new to the genre outside of here's the thing you like, but now it's open world. Yeah, and Rockstar, who are the people who created the genre itself, still can't add anything new to it. I mean, the online stuff is the closest thing they've ever done to adding something new. Yeah, but they really just made a playground, their engine, that's cool, which people enjoy. But that's still like. But the thing is, with GTA Online, at least the playground's fun because you have cars and you have that builder, and you can like create fucking loop-de-loops and crazy like floating structures in the sky
where you have
and you can just create random and just stunt shows and all kinds of wacky shit with the stuff that they put in the game. Like, this isn't just people with too much time modding it. Like, this is shit built into it. Yeah. What the fuck you gonna do in a Red Dead game? Well, ramp the horse, like, like they're not. It's just ridiculous to me. Like, what are you gonna be able to? Because, like, especially because the tone of the trailer, GTA is like to put on this air of seriousness occasionally, but they're fucking ridiculous games, and they're silly even in their story and their presentation. They're full of the fucking lowest common denominator satire in the fucking world, but it's still like shit people giggle at, and it's a dumb, like, the South Park of video games is the best way to describe it.
I mean, at the end of the day, GTA is all about doing the most fucked up fun shit that you can think about.
But Red Dead wasn't. Red Dead is a solemn and serious game where there's a couple of silly moments, but they're silly in the context of the Old West. Yeah. Like, silly in, like, a funny scene in Tombstone or something like that. We're not talking, like, Twatter or whatever the fuck is in GTA 5, or their fake life, their fake Facebook, social media shit, and your jokes about Twitter and all that stuff. Like, they're not going to have that in the old. They're not making, like, they're not making A Million Ways to Die in the West. They're not making an Old West parody. They're making a serious, solemn Western.
And they also don't have
But then you expect me to play that online with other people and do silly playground shit? Yeah. No. You're going to be solemn and serious on there too? Like, no. It's like, I don't know. I just can't. The dichotomy. I can't really wrap my brain around it. Like, what
given that it's Rockstar, they'll come up with something. I mean, there was like the Four Horsemen thing with the flaming horse and the pestilence horse.
Yeah, they did weird shit, but that was like out of canon. It was like, And I expect this to be maybe some kind of weird. Like, I mean, maybe if they give you a lot of PvE type stuff, like, hey, work as a gang. Like, if it's like, hey, you're a gang of 7 dudes. All of you are players of the game. Be a gang, like, be a gang, like rob trains, rob banks, or you find out another gang of other online players is robbing trains and robbing banks, and you can be the posse that rounds them up and turns them in for money. Like, shit, like, that would be fun. Yeah. And it's a continuing cycle because there's always going to be dumbasses shooting hookers and, like, like throwing over card tables and starting shit. There's always going to be those people. So if you and your gang of roughnecks are out there lassoing dudes and dumb shit like that, sure, why not,
Yeah. It's Rockstar. I'm sure that they'll come up with some way
See,
to make
just
it
saying
somewhat
that made
fun.
me want to play it.
Right?
So, I mean, like, yeah, maybe.
You kind of solved your own problem.
Yeah, I
there.
kind of solved my own problem. But they have to do that. I can't do that.
All right, we're about 40 in. You want to take a break and then come back and talk about Nintendo?
Yeah.
All right, we'll be back. Who did that?
I'm trying to find out.
Welcome back from the break, everybody. We did stuff and things and got some soda and cigarettes and smoked some crack. I sell cocaine and cocaine accessories.
Oh, huh. Dad.
So,
All right, figured it out. I found out who died.
who died?
I'm not going to spoil The Walking Dead for anybody.
Oh, okay. It was Carl, wasn't it?
That was a coral.
Coral.
Sinking coral. Okay. Now we're going to talk about Nintendo. But we're going to start
Nintendo
talking
makes
about
video games.
we're going to talk about. There's this company called Nintendo.
Did you know?
Did you know?
Did you know?
Did you know?
Nintendo made video games.
This is my my pitch to host an episode of Did You Know Gaming.
I love that channel.
Did you know Nintendo used to make trading cards?
Were they Pokemon?
They created a game called Duck Hunt way before they made the game called Duck Hunt. It was like Duck Hunt, but it was it's projected on your walls and shit.
No, it was actually called Dick Hunt.
It was called Duck Hunt.
Dick Cunt.
Dick Cunt. That's my name. Don't wear it out.
So, as most of you probably know by now, Nintendo has
No, we're talking about Pokemon first.
released a new Pokemon game.
Or is going to release
a new Pokemon
in a month. So, yeah, Nintendo released a demo for Pokemon Sun and Moon, and I figured, well, I'm not exactly as much of a Pokemon aficionado as Kinder. It probably is good that we talk about it because we've talked about it so much on other podcasts.
Yeah.
So, a bunch of shit got data mined out of it, and if you care about Pokemon Sun and Moon spoilers, go ahead and cut it off now. So, a bunch of people say the entire Pokedex was present in this. Which is like that's such a Nintendo thing to do.
Though?
Such a Nintendo thing to do. Like we're gonna put so much unnecessary information that can be data mined out of this thing because we're very trusting for some reason. But one of those things was a low-end form of Doug Trio.
Hey, yeah. That's got to be the
It's
fucking
got
title.
3. Doug Trio has 3 heads, as everyone knows, and those 3 heads have amazing blonde hair.
They look just like the like He-Man.
Yeah. Well, they're all beach bums, I guess,
Yeah.
right? They're supposed to be like beach bums or something. I guess they're only found on like beaches.
I don't know.
So they get hair.
I don't know why they didn't call it. I don't know why they didn't call it Dude Trio.
Yeah, but there is also, because they'd already revealed the Alolan form of Meowth, so there's obviously an Alolan form of Persian, and
It's
it looks
fucking
like Garfield for some
Purple
reason.
Garfield.
And they already had revealed the Alolan version of Grimer, but now there's one for Muck as well.
Yeah, and he's apparently gay.
Just fucking rainbows, man. He looks like melted sherbet. Ugh.
He actually hung out near the Hawaiian shaved ice.
Yeah,
thing.
he's just a big pile of shaved ice discarding. He's like the melted bits that come out of the hole at the bottom at the end of the day.
I'm gonna take that and extend it out. God, that's so gross sounding. Jesus, stop it. God. Fuck. Stop it. Ugh. I have a high tolerance for terrible mic sounds, but Jesus Christ. Fuck you.
All right, so that's about it when it comes to Pokemon.
Surprisingly, I haven't actually played the demo yet. Normally, I'm all about Pokemon, but I fucked myself, and then I didn't. No, I downloaded the demo with complete intention to play it, but I started a new game of Bravely Default. And god damn it, I forgot how good of an RPG that was.
Why didn't you just get Bravely Second? Didn't that come out already?
Yeah, it's already out, and I heard it was pretty decent. But Bravely Default is just such a good, classic, well-made RPG.
Yeah,
you really need to play it if you haven't
probably
played it.
do. Yeah.
It's very, very good. I'm still having fun playing through it the second time, and I mean it's like Final Fantasy should have been.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, it's made by fucking Square. They got back to basics.
Back to basics.
Yeah, I started playing that, and I'm still playing it. I have not pulled myself away from that to play the Pokemon demo. Because every time I get on, I want to play Bravely Default.
But really, do you need to play a demo of Pokemon? You're going to buy the full game.
Well, I want the Ash Greninja and all that you get with it.
Oh, you do? Okay, so I might need to download this demo.
Yeah, you get some... I think you keep all the items you get, I think, and you may get to keep the Pokemon. I don't know. Except for, I'm sure, to start. I don't know how all it works.
Their stats are all weird, too, right?
Yeah, everything's... Like, the enemies, I think, defenses are lowered, or everybody's defense... I don't know.
I think it's across the board from that data mine that bro was talking about.
But also, you do get an Ash Greninja, which apparently is a Greninja with a special ability to, like, battle sync or something weird like that.
Yeah.
It's tied into the anime where he, like, gets more powerful as the battle goes or something. I don't know what. I don't know exactly how it works. I haven't read up on it completely. But apparently it's a very good thing to have. I mean, I like Greninja. Yeah. He's a well-done Pokemon, in my opinion.
He still has some weird shit on him that I don't like.
The tongue scarf was a little weird.
Tongue scarf I'm okay with. It's the fucking like weird head horn thing. It's like, why is that there?
He's a horny toad. He's a horny
He's
toad,
a ninja.
Frank. He's a ninja, horny ninja. Horny toad ninja.
But the other thing, too, was that a while back, they had leaked out the final evolutions of these starters, and everybody's like, oh, it's fake. It's fake.
I remember seeing those and being like, this is fake as fuck.
This is fake as fuck. And then it turns out, they're all real.
Yeah. I'm very, very disappointed with...
He didn't stay on all fours. I saw a meme that was a picture of it, the evolution with like duct tape on his paws. You stay on all fours. Don't be a firefighting type. Yep, guess what? He's a firefighting type.
Is it confirmed that he's firefighting?
I mean, he's a wrestler.
That's true.
I mean, wrestlers don't really fight. It's fake.
I was going to go fire this time. I never go fire type, but I was going to this time, and I just don't...
The grass type looks really cool.
It does. I hated
second evolution looks really cool. It's like he's a fucking posh and proper gentleman.
Like, I don't know. Of the third evolutions, I definitely like the grass type this time the best, as far as aesthetics go.
Yeah.
The water type was a nice departure.
I still shouldn't want to fuck the Pokemon.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of it, but I think it's a well done design anyway.
Of Pokemon, like making them look like people. It's always the weird thing about Digimon. Like, there's some of those. That's just a dude. You can fuck that. Like that Angelmon. That's just a guy.
It always weirded me out. Like for the longest time, I don't know if it is, but I don't think it is. But like for some reason, I thought a cactus. Like a living cactus was like a weird thing in Japanese culture, because Kakuturn from Final Fantasy, and then all of a sudden this Digimon dude, and I'm like, is this a thing?
Yeah, it's like the raccoon Mario. It's like, oh yeah, it's based on the Tanuki legends in Japan, you know, and like same with the frogs, the fact that he turns into a statue if you have the full Tanuki suit and shit like that.
Yeah,
which they don't bring into any of the other games.
Yeah, isn't it in Paper Mario or something? Or Mario RPG?
I don't know. It might be in the RPG games, but I haven't played a lot of the RPG games. But it's not like the raccoon tail is in, but they don't have the full Tanuki suit, but they have the raccoon tail in Super Mario 3D Land and 3D World. But I don't think I don't know if the Tanuki suit's in either one of those. Although you do get a cat suit in Super Mario 3D World. That's good.
All right, this is getting hot.
Yeah. But speaking of Mario,
Mario,
the company that created Mario is creating a new console. You may have heard about it. On the same day as Red Dead Redemption's reveal, an hour earlier was a 3 times as long video about a new Nintendo console. Now, granted, they didn't have 3 days of hype leading up to this like Rockstar did. They literally announced it the night before it happened. Like, hey, guys.
We got something to show you.
Now, they showed this 3-minute video, and it was a pretty packed video. You know, it's a great little sizzle reel. But there's no word on any, like, Nintendo Directs for the rest of the year, as far as I'm aware of. And they've already said, like, hey, we're not going to talk about this basically anymore this year.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it starting next year, which only gives them 3 months.
Yeah.
And everybody was like, oh, is this thing, like, not on schedule? Like, what's going on? But then somebody was out there saying, like, no, it's on schedule. And they were actually the ones who said that, like, 3 days before they said they were going to think out, said, like, you should hear something by the end of this week.
Yeah.
So they had some insider information.
Yeah.
And that's when everybody was like, oh, shit, here it comes. It's coming.
Yeah.
Finally, you know. And so, but what it is called Nintendo Switch. Thankfully, we're getting away from the Wii name that has cursed Nintendo for the last 10 years.
I think the Wii U kind of made it, or even the Wii, even though it was successful, I think both the Wii names kind of
and the fact that because the Wii was
stigma.
so financially successful, not critically successful, but financially successful for Nintendo, they felt the need to create their second system to be a predecessor to the Wii, as opposed to being its own thing.
Yeah.
Now they're like, fuck it, that was a bad idea, you know. And they said, we're going to create something brand new. And they really did. So all the rumors are true when it comes to it being like, pretty much everything everyone said. But I did not expect it to be as dope as what they put out there. You know, like I was sitting there expecting
it's weird. Like whenever you get these rumors, these high school, my uncle works at Nintendo rumors. Yeah. It's always like it turns out like one of them's true and like the rest of them are kind of like misconceptions or like weird locker room talk,
or like
that
everything was true, but
in a weird
it's a
way,
shitty version of what you wanted. Like it's a monkey's paw of what you expected.
Yeah, and this turned out to be exactly what you. So far, from what we know, from what we can see in the video, it's pretty clear. Yeah. It's exactly what we had been talking about in the locker room.
Theoretically, because they were playing in the video, they're playing Skyrim, and it's obviously Skyrim remastered because it has the better lighting and everything, and the better textures. So it's powerful enough to play Skyrim remastered, which implies it's powerful enough to work on a PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. So it's comparable to those systems in power, which is what we wanted.
Yeah.
You know, and if theoretically, even with the new versions like Scorpio and PS Pro coming out, they're not going to be any games that don't run on the original versions of those consoles anyway. So it's accessible to all, you know, the developers that are out there to create their games and port them over this thing. It's running on NVIDIA hardware, which means that it should be theoretically easier for those developers to develop for it because it's known. It's a known quantity. You know, it's a Tegra chip. Like they're already making shit for these things. You know. So, again, it's a known quantity. They can do something with that. It's not this weird fucking, like, 12 monks are living in your Wii U making it run, and nobody knows how it works, you know? Like, because we should move past. Nintendo should have moved past, like, building everything from scratch a long time ago. Yeah. But they still have been doing it for a while, you know? Yeah.
And here's something that I think is going to be a big misconception until they release more information. A lot of people are thinking that they're, you know, these things not going to run like Skyrim very smooth or whatever, but they're also not realizing that they're not running it at 1080p, probably not even 720p. Yeah, think about the 3DS. It's like some 380 or some weird aspect ratio.
From there's a an unconfirmed spec sheet out there, and it's saying that this thing can. This thing can output 1080 60 for most things that are out there.
Really?
Which is
that's impressive.
Yeah. So, and it's not packing RAM, but considering like the 360 only had like 512 megabits, and this thing's got, and then the newer ones have like 8. Yeah. Like how many does like So that we're not talking like, but this one, according to the sheet, only has like 4, but that's still more than enough.
Yeah.
Like you can still get away with 4 on like PC if you're not, wanting to throw in a lot of RAM. Like you can get away with 4 for most games, at least especially what's coming out now.
Yeah.
And you're not talking about running. But the thing is, it doesn't have to be 1080 60 because you could just put it at 720 and then upscale it with that dock. Then upscale it with that dock that's to 1080, or even 4K, theoretically, and that's doing exactly what every other.
Oh shit! I shot myself in the foot there because I forgot that this would be confirmed by Nintendo rep that the dock itself is basically nothing but an output. Everything is apparently contained in the little handheld screen. So apparently, that's the main console.
Those specs that are leaking out.
So 1080-60 would make sense, with the actual console.
But even then, again, that's more than enough, for that's exactly enough for, in my opinion. Like, you don't need 4K, you don't need anything more than 60 on a home console. And that screen, apparently, according to these specs, again, was only 720 anyway. But you don't need anything more than 720. We're talking about something in your hand that you're holding right to your face most of the time.
Well, I'm expecting they're doing that partially because of battery life. Would be that would make more sense to me, less horsepower, more battery life. Because running a 1080p screen, you're running a game on it, it'll kill the shit out of your phone, much less a big ass tablet. You know? But I'm wondering how that's going to work, how the battery life is going to be. I don't think it's going to be great, but maybe they'll figure something out.
It depends on
or something.
Yeah, it depends on what we're looking at here, because we're talking about, a Nintendo console, which, the 3DS when it first came out was not rocking like crazy good specs,
it's still not.
Yeah.
I just got the new 3DS the day before they fucking made the announcement. I ordered a goddamn new 3DS. Granted, it was a special edition, and I wanted it as a collector's item. I didn't really have a huge need to get it, but I wanted one.
Right.
But the fucking day after I ordered this bitch, before it even came in the mail, they had made the announcement for the NX, and I'm just like, well, fuck me, right? At least it's not coming out till next year, but still. No more content for me, I guess. I guess I'll just play Super Castlevania again.
Right. And I think that's the thing that they I gotta find these damn specs. But you're talking about a system that doesn't have to, again, like I said, doesn't have to push horsepower.
Yeah.
Why
haven't I been marking these?
You don't need a Nintendo console that's like crazy out there game, like, because they're known for taking advantage of the hardware that they have.
Yeah. And
the third parties are the ones who don't want to put that work in.
Yeah.
But Nintendo, fucking hell, those Wii U games are across the board. They're all fucking beautiful. The Nintendo developed Wii U games. You can play Mario World, and it's like, I can't see the seams like I can with other video games.
Yeah.
Like where an effect bleeds through another polygon, and you can and it's just like, oh yeah, this is. They do everything in their power to make sure that never happens.
Yeah.
Like particle effects puff up from things, and they sort of almost bounce off of stuff, and everything feels alive, and like they created it, and it looks so fucking good. They do such a good job with that shit.
Yeah.
So when it comes to what you expect from a Nintendo, what you expect Nintendo to make for this thing, I'm already on board.
Yeah. I'm fucking getting one. I don't give a shit. I'm getting one of those motherfuckers.
Yeah, but of course they're pulling their punches already. They were out there talking to Famitsu about it, and they said, "Oh, this is not a this is not the the next generation for the 3DS or the Wii U. This is a whole new thing." The same thing they did with the DS. It was like, this isn't a new Game Boy.
Yeah,
but it totally was, because the Game Boy did not come back. They made a micro after it, and I think what they mean is like, we're not shutting the door on the 3DS. Like, you'll probably get like 2 or 3 more 3DS games while the Switch is out.
Yeah,
but I don't see it continuing on. I don't see them releasing another handheld after that, unless like the Pokemon devs just like, I don't know how to make a big game. Like I can't imagine have any reason to hold back and not just let those guys go all out on that thing,
If Pokemon goes to the NX, that's when you know this is it.
Right, yeah.
This is the new handheld.
You keep wanting to call it the NX too, like it's the Switch.
Yeah. It's hard not to
it's
call it. It's a good name.
Yeah, it's a great name. And the sound design in that trailer with that click noise that they do every time something happens, it's like, I hope it makes that satisfying noise. Like, it needs to. Like, just for me,
Yeah.
So they were out there with Famitsu talking about it, and they said, I think what they said was what comes in the box as of right now is the dock, the screen, and the two Joy-Cons, which are the things that attach to the sides. No word on that. So obviously it means the Pro controller is going to be sold separately, but it also means that thing the Joy-Cons can go into that acts as a controller separately would also be sold separately.
Yeah.
Now, looking at the Pro controller and looking at the Joy-Con grip, I guess is what it was called, it has like a bit in the middle.
Yeah.
Where it looks like there's a touchpad there.
Might be a battery.
Could be. I mean, that'd be a great place for it, good place to keep it.
Yeah.
I mean, there obviously is some electronics going on there because there's lights to show that the Joy-Cons are connected to it. But if that's some kind of touchpad, and then that means the screen has some touching going on. And at first I was under the impression that the new Zelda game doesn't have much going on in the touchscreen. But according to Henry Gilbert of Fandom, he said that there is inventory management and all kinds of stuff going on the Wii U controller.
Mm-hmm.
Which would imply that there's some kind of touchscreen stuff.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Maybe.
It would make sense, because if they plan on having any kind of backwards compatibility, at least through digital download for the Wii U or anything like that, this thing is already purpose-built for that. Can be a controller you hold in your hand,
Yeah.
And if they give you some way of accessing that through a touchpad or something, I don't know.
Yeah. Did you see where someone made a model of it? Made a foam model? How big it is? It's a fairly good-sized little piece of hardware there. I mean, it's probably, 3 or 4 times bigger than my phone.
You're not going to even have it in your pocket either.
Yeah. Which kind of kills it for a handheld, which, may mean that they...
Look, I mean, nowadays, everybody, people carry around tablets. Even people with, Kindles and shit like that. And your phone's not that small. Yeah, it goes in your pocket. But at the same time, there are people who carry around iPads. People are used to carrying around big screen technology at this point,
But even with, I had a regular original 3DS, and to me, it was perfect size. I think that was the best form factor 3DS. And I've never owned an XL version of any 3DS or any DS. And I got the new 3DS, which is only in the XL form factor here in the U.S. because we're fat. And I held the thing in my hands. I was like, this thing's fucking huge. I have big hands.
Yeah.
And this thing is fucking huge, and it's uncomfortable to put in my pocket. It looks great, and I love the extra screen real estate, but god damn, it's big.
All right, so these are the supposed specs on the dev kit. Pushing, this is literally from the tweet, okay? So I did not write this. Pushing some power.
Oh, this cannot be more perfect.
Enough to run anything you throw is what they're saying, which is,
Super speedy spec rundown in 3, 2, 1.
So 4 ARM or ARM Cortex A57 cores, maximum 2 gigahertz L2 cache, 2 megabytes. 64-bit ARM V8 crypto extension enabled. That's the CPU. GPU, NVIDIA 2nd generation Maxwell architecture, 256 CUDA cores, maximum 1 gigahertz, 1024 flops per cycle, texture 16 pixels per cycle, fill 14.4 pixels per cycle. Main memory capacity 4 gigabytes, bandwidth 25.6 gigabytes a second, and the VRAM is shared. System memory capacity 32 gigabyte maximum transferable rate. So I'm assuming SD card, expandable memory most likely.
And done with spec rundown. So it seems like it has 4 gigabytes of RAM, and is that shared with the VRAM? Is that what it's trying to say?
Yeah.
I don't really know how. I'm not big on.
I don't think consoles really if there's an OS running under there, which I'm assuming there is. Most things probably does have some kind of BIOS.
Yeah.
So I don't know if there's gonna be a lot of pause and suspend. I mean, pause and suspend is like the only feature you really need.
Yeah.
But going back to the menu, like, who cares if you have to go back to the menu and watch Netflix and it closes your game? Oh well, you know.
For when a game's optimized on the console too, you can optimize for RAM constraints a lot easier than you can on the PC as well.
You don't have a billion things running in the background. You have like maybe two processors.
So 4 gigabytes of RAM sounds right for the power of the console they're going for, and I can't really tell offhand without having some reference. I mean, I got an idea of where it's lying with power. Obviously, not going to be a Scorpio. Obviously, not going to be a PS5. But it's good. It's not.
It's where you would expect a Nintendo console,
right?
You know, about a half a generation behind everybody.
Yeah, but hey,
like when the Wii U came out, it was on the same level as the PlayStation 3 and the Xbox 360. It just got beat a year later by two other consoles. You know, so this is
around the same area.
Around the same area where they could be. You know, they're coming out about probably, I guess you would say they're coming out about almost a year before the new Xbox thing launches. Yeah. But again, they already said nothing that's coming to the Scorpio won't play on your original Xbox One. So if they're still making games that are optimized to run across all those platforms, with it being like, if you think of it like a PC game, like the Xbox One is kind of like low, and the S is like your medium, and then your Scorpio is like your high, and then if you buy it on PC, you get the crossplay, and that's your ultra. You know, like. So,
speaking of which, I actually meant to correct you on something earlier. I didn't get a chance. But Nintendo, like all the other consoles, they used AMD. Yeah. If you look right behind you, you see the ATI logo over there.
But I'm just saying, it's like, it's not, you know. This isn't NVIDIA thing though. This one is.
Yeah, and I'm sure they'll have access to. As much as I hate NVIDIA, they have a god tier fucking driver development team, and they have a pretty good set of libraries, you know, with like GameWorks and stuff. Even if it's fucking
well, they're the only ones out there like pushing like that mobile power stuff too. You know, like AMD's not out there pushing a mobile chipset that's powerful enough to run games. NVIDIA's been doing this for a while because they got the Shield.
Just got more fucking like shit to push it on.
Yeah, but they got like the stuff like the Shield that's like in the tablets and stuff that are made to be like game ready tablets, and now you got a company that's out there saying, here's a game ready. It's literally a game machine, like that's all it is.
Yeah.
And here it's saying system memory 32 gigabytes, maximum transfer rate 40 megabytes a second. So it's not, that's what you would expect from, solid state kind of stuff. USB 2.0 and 3.0. So it's got USB 3.0 on it.
Nice little addition there.
Video output 60 frames per second, maximum 1920 by 1080 pixels, or 30 frames a second, 380 40 2160. So 4K at 30 frames a second.
Is that? Yeah, that's 4K.
Yeah.
So it can do 4K at 30?
Apparently.
It's capable. That's
4K capable.
Impressive.
Yeah. And the screen, though, is 6.2 IPS LCD, 1280 by 720 pixels. This is the thing. Capacitance method 10-point multi-touch. So it is like a, capacitive touchscreen like your standard iPhone.
I'm so glad they finally
the fact they're not coming out saying it's not that either. So so I'm assuming the reason why they're not doing it is because it's not one of the main functions. It's like it's there so you can, go through and do stuff with the OS. Like that's it.
I'm just saying, Mario Maker.
Yeah,
Switch.
you have to have a Mario Maker on there. Yeah, if you have Mario Maker, you have to have a touchscreen.
I'm really glad though they went IPS, and if this is true, capacitive touchscreen, because the TN panels are shit.
Yeah,
and
they were shit when the DS came out. Granted it was the first thing to really do it, but you're talking like God.
And LCDs, is good and all, but IPS, that's where it's at.
Yeah,
and the fucking multi-touch capacitive, that's a big thing, because the touchscreen, nobody can deny that the touchscreen on the DS, 3DS, new 3DS,
Wii U,
kind of shitty.
Yeah,
It's kind
the
of
Wii U's not even capacitive. It's the same shit. It's
it's the word force touch or whatever it's called.
Yeah, and it's like you would, especially with like video games. I want multi-touch. Majority of the things you do in a video game involves multiple buttons, and so not being able to press multiple things on the screen at once, like do a click and drag. Like Mario Maker would have been highly improved with the ability to, pinch and zoom.
Yeah.
And so this is the kind of thing, like doing that kind of stuff with this, that's on point.
I think what they wanted was like a stylus-capable thing because, they want people to draw on it and all that shit.
Exactly.
And you can use a stylus.
Yeah,
A capacitive does hinder that precision
too,
stylus.
Yeah, they could make a stylus, too. There's nothing stopping them.
Yeah.
Well,
the type of stylus they could make is not exactly what they want.
You have things out there like the Note that comes with a built-in stylus.
I didn't even think about that.
Like it's not the soft little rubbery things you can buy at the gas station. It's a solid point. You can do shit with it.
It's actually a pretty good damn pen.
Yeah. So I mean, they have in the Apple Pen and shit like that. Like they have.
Excuse me, pencil.
Sorry, Apple Pencil. Yeah, it's a pencil.
It pushes horsepower.
Pushes horsepower.
Pushes pencil horsepower.
Pencil power.
Pencil power. You want to check out my pencil power?
I'm son of Pencilhead.
But yeah. Fucking the Switch sounds pretty fucking
There's some
dope.
other ones. Region free is what they're saying.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
No NTSC and fucking Jap shit anymore?
6-inch, 6.2 inch,
Hey.
multi-touch screen.
6.2 inch? That's it?
Apparently. Well, it's diagonally. It's not bad. This is 5
This is a 7 inch, I think.
I mean, I don't know. With looking at the size of it in people's hands, it looks a lot bigger. It looks about
It
as
does
big
look
as
a lot bigger.
It looks about as big as like my kids' Kindles.
Yeah.
Because there's no way, if you imagine like the Joy-Cons are the side of that controller.
Let me see. Note 5 screen size. I want to say it's 7. Maybe I'm thinking of a tablet that's 7 inch. No,
Yeah,
it's 5.7 inches. I am way off. 5.7. Maybe that's where I was getting that number.
Yeah, this is 5.2, I think, or something like that.
Yeah. And how big was the
It's saying 6.2 inches.
6.2? So it's
I
got a good almost inch.
Look up like a
on it.
Kindle, like what the tablet dimensions of like a Kindle Fire.
Yeah.
Because I think that's about what we're looking at here.
Kindle Fire screen size.
So the Fire 6 is the 6-inch screen, I believe.
Fire, you say 8.9. I don't fucking know. It doesn't say
So
like right
confusing.
offhand. There we go. Screen size 7 inch on the.
That's the Kindle,
Kindle
Fire,
Fire.
7-inch, yeah.
Yeah, so it's a little bit smaller than a Kindle. Smaller than I anticipated for that. But that does make me feel better about it being a handheld.
Yeah. I mean, you could theoretically stick that in your back pocket.
Yeah.
Put it in a bag and not feel unsafe.
Yeah, a Kindle or at least Laura's Kindle felt like a fairly small tablet.
And they got some heft to it too. I hope they put some weight in there.
Yeah.
I don't expect rumble or anything either because most mobile gaming units don't really
they
have
could
any
always
kind
put
of
in the
rumble.
if they have individual batteries, they could do
I
it.
mean,
in
they put
the
some
hand
kind of like. I
things.
mean, phones have some form of vibration in them.
Yeah.
They don't need like full on like shaking the
Yeah,
controller out of your hand shit, but something, just a little bit of something.
A little something.
Depending on how much like
They got to push a little horsepower.
I mean, I imagine too. Like this is Nintendo we're talking about. There's got to be a camera on there somewhere, right?
Probably a forward facing.
Yeah. Here it says camera and microphone are not built into / inside the NX Portal device, which again, it says cooling is still a little noisy. How is it going to have any cooling, though? Unless the dock has the cooling.
Phones have cooling. Usually it's passive cooling.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like passive cooling, maybe, but noisy? Like there's going to be a fan in this thing?
I forget which tablet it is, but some of the older tablets have fan cooling. And, even the thinner laptops have fan cooling, too. It's just a really small fan. So, I mean, or it might be a blower-type cooler, even.
Yeah, it has 2 USB 2.0 ports and 1 USB 3.0 port. Port device is around 14 to 15 millimeters in thickness.
Thick. 2 C's.
Thick with 2 C's. So what are we talking about there? It's like, something like that?
Your penis size?
Something like that, yeah. Half a fingernail width long. Anyway, so that's about it for it. I'm excited for it.
Oh, yeah.
It's still one of those things where it's like I gotta wait to wait and see a little bit. At least want more information.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop because that's kind of what you have to do with Nintendo.
Yeah.
Because I was all on board with the Wii until it was like, oh yeah, by the way, you're not going to want to play any of these games because they don't play like normal video games because we shoehorned in this weird shit. They're not trying to like reinvent. But what I like about it is the fact that they're not trying to reinvent the wheel. They're just making a portable gaming device that can also plug into your TV. That's the craziest thing they're doing.
Yeah.
That's the thing they're doing to change the game.
Yeah.
But how you play the game is not changing. Like, you're using a controller, and yeah, it's going to be a little awkward maybe. Because, like, but the concept of, like, being able to take my screen and, you know, plug it in my TV, play a game, and then, oh, you want to use the TV? Okay, you know, it's the same thing I do with the Wii U already. Yeah. You know, I do it with the Wii U already. It's like, I want to play some Mario Kart. Fuck it. Pull out my Wii U tablet and just start playing. And there are some games that require the tablet, some games don't. You know, require a screen and a tablet together.
Yeah. I wonder if it'll have that capability.
I don't know. I mean, because, like, it's got to be plugged in to use the TV, which is why I'm saying, like, if that thing in the middle is some kind of touch thing, maybe that's what it's there for, but I don't know. Like,
could be.
I can't imagine. Like, I've never used a PlayStation
4 controller.
Yeah, that's the thing. I've never used a PlayStation 4, so I don't know how good that touchpad works in, like, being able to imagine the screen on that little square, you know, like, I don't know, I can't imagine.
Which I would anticipate Nintendo would make a lot better use of something like that than Sony ever would.
Yeah, I feel like Sony is the kind of company that puts that stuff on their controllers and just
like an afterthought.
Yeah, just forgets about it. You know, like sort of like how they did with the 6-axis. Like, it's in there, you can use it, but we're not going to push it on anything. Same with like the pressure sensitive buttons for the PS2 and the PS3, like. Metal Gear Solid 2 is like the only game I can think of that utilized those. Like,
it was on DualShock. Wasn't it on DualShock 1?
No, it was on DualShock 2. So it was PlayStation 2 and PlayStation 3 both had like the pressure sensitivity stuff where you could.
No, I distinctly remember being able to do that in Metal Gear Solid, and that was like a thing with the game. I remember
in Metal Gear Solid 1 because there wasn't any holding up in Metal Gear Solid 1, was there?
No, you didn't hold up. You could press it and then release. Like, you could press it so far and aim like you're fully auto, like your AK.
You had to, like, switch guns real fast to not shoot somebody when you had it aimed. Because if you let go, that was when it shot or something like that?
If you put enough pressure on it, then when you let go, it would go. But if you pushed it down just far enough, it was very thin line. I remember that, especially in VR missions.
It might not have had it, but it was like some sort of fake version of it built into the controller.
Maybe I'm just fooling myself.
Yeah, maybe. But I just know in 2 it was definitely there, and the DualShock 2 and the 3, because like Gran Turismo, when you were playing it, now you're talking about it, though, I feel like maybe it was in the DualShock 1, because like I remember you could press down the A button, because like it was before everybody started putting everything on the top buttons for like acceleration and braking, so you had to use like X and, you know, square as your brake and your gas.
Yeah.
But if you press down harder on the X button, you could actually, like, it wouldn't just be a digital input, it would be an analog thing. You could actually like put some adjustment to it.
Maybe it was just a weird fucking retrospect. I don't know.
Maybe.
Anyway, we're coming up on an hour and 20 minutes or so. And
it's time to let go.
Yeah, I think it's time to let it go.
It's time to let go.
There you go.
I got this podcast. Let's sell it on Let Go.
Hey. Don't forget to go to facebook.com/SOGOpod and give us a like and all that shit. Go to
no!
Don't forget to go to Twitter @TheSOGOpod. That's where we hang out most of the time. Also go to www.SOGOpod.com and do shit there. You can get our podcast and check out our shit. We don't do much. That's going to be it for us. Good night, everybody. Hope you like the show. Send me dick pics. Plus.
Pushing horsepower. Pushes the horsepower. Pushing horsepower. I'm trying to push horsepower. Push that horsepower. Pushing horsepower. PlayStation VR. Not pushing horsepower. Besides the fact that they're not pushing horsepower.
This podcast is pushing horsepower.
It doesn't have to push horsepower. Pushing. This is literally from the tweet. Okay, so I did not write this. Pushing some power. Pushes horsepower. Push that horsepower.
pushing it hard.